Oh, darn it.
Hello, welcome back to Animalata Corner, where I'm bringing you today's story about the volunteer ministers. No, I'm not. I'm lying. I grabbed the wrong story. Hold on for 1 minute. All right, everybody, I am back. I am so sorry about it. Today on Animal Audit Corner, I have a story that is really, really serious. That Scientology has escalated their practices. But first, you know what? Before I forget to tell you about the story that I had last week, and I keep saying I'm going to hold it off to then. Well, I keep forgetting, so I must just say it now. Last week, it was horrible. I got hacked. At first, I thought, you know what? Maybe I used one too many passwords. And it went on for three straight days. And then the third day before Easter, I called a technician and I told them, you know what? I'm having problems with my Chromebook. He told me straight up he had it checked out. He told me firsthand that my computer was hacked. Yeah, that's right. So we get an idea who did it. It was them. It was Scientology and OSA. They broke into my computer and just messed everything up. It was the worst thing I can go through. Not just me, anyone can go through. And I just was so horrified that anyone would do this, much less me, but anyone. And of course, yes, they did. They left their calling card. It was unbelievable. It was a nightmare. But you know what? It wasn't because somehow the message that was given to me said flag line based. in Florida. And I'm like, well, it was Scientology and OSA. It was unbelievable. But guess what? After days of trying, the person that helped me said, we are going to take measures so this wouldn't happen ever again. And that person did it. They managed to fix it so also wouldn't hack into my computer ever again. Because guess what happened? When they tried, the computer rebooted itself, and I was able to use the computer. And it looks like that they lost their battle with me, just like they lost their battle with the protesters in Los Angeles in court, while they're holding up their First Amendment right to free speech. They did not win again. And I would say, well, guess what? The person that helped me was right. They took steps that wouldn't, so it wouldn't happen again, and they did, and it worked. And they lost this battle as well. Well, that should do it with that story. I want to bring you another story, but I don't want to mention it in case I forget again. Of course, you know, Scientology has years of malice within the organization, from torture to slave labor, and sometimes even death. As you know, the organization is known for being infamous for corruption with everyone and everything around them, including animals. Scientology would also be well known for their unusual security practice to protect themselves. Little did anyone know those dogs would turn into attack dogs, trained by their employees, the security guards. And as you know, they make only $50 a day, which is so cheap. They can make more money than that working at a Burger King. But you know what? They're also brainwashed, so they don't know. Scientology would use animals to get even with people, and they love to come up with ways to hurt them. And they would use animals to do it. At the Flagland base by North Hercules Ave, Calumet Street, 4 miles away from the Fort Harrison Hotel, Flagland Base was the route of the downtown Clearwater, where they built on a huge section of 2000 Calumet Street. That would have trees right on that particular lawn. Scientology security guards had trained dogs to attack a suited guy that was training to attack people, mainly their critics. These guys were training these dogs to attack, which is not, they would say that they're using these dogs to protect themselves so they wouldn't be attacked. But however, they are the ones doing the attacking, because guess what? They're the ones that brought a dog onto the Flagland Base that would single-handedly prove that it's always them claiming to be a victim. Then at the same time, upper management were taking pictures of security guards and their dogs. In early 2008, the anonymous movement started to reach their peak when they shined a spotlight directly on Scientology, where they brought awareness to the criminal organization in human practices such as slavery, slave labor, and human trafficking. While they were demonstrating, one of those dogs startled one of the protesters. Him or her was, they jumped a bit, but after a while, him or her got used to it. That cult trained those dogs in a foolish attempt to get even with their critics once again. One of them scared one of those protesters, although he took it in stride because they keep bringing out the dogs and bringing out the dogs. And then after a while, they just thought, you know what? I'm pretty much used to this, so I'm just not going to say anything. The anonymous protesters thought that they had borrowed the dog when they brought it on to the Flagland Base. Maybe an injunction wasn't good enough. The time when they felt like they had to escalate it into something so dangerous. They used those dogs out of paranoia and placed them in a bad position. Because if one of those dogs attack one of the protesters, not only the protesters would get hurt, but it would also be the end of that dog's life. Because if animal control got a hold of them, they can be put down. And this is another example of Scientology being so careless. Then at the end, Scientology don't care if those animals live or die. They just want to spend their time getting even with people who don't really care for them. But in reality, they are hurting other people and they don't care, which is true. And then at the end, they're claiming that they're the victims. Then ultimately, that's what they did to the anonymous protesters. And to sum it up, they use a bunch of dogs to intimidate those protesters. Nevertheless, Scientology has years of malice within the organization, from torture to slave labor, and sometimes even death. Where those guys were training dogs to attack people, which is not true. Scientology would be doing the attacking. Those protesters, those critics are not the ones doing attacking. It's the other way around. Scientology is the one doing the attacking. That cult trains those dogs in attempt to get even with their critics. And they are being used as collateral. Then ultimately, the anonymous protesters thought that they had borrowed the dog when they brought it onto the flag-laying base. In conclusion, those protesters saw firsthand what Scientology does to everyone, including animals. This is the most worst thing ever. Now, in a couple of weeks, guess what? It'll be May 5th, and Council in Clearwater is gonna vote on selling the streets to Scientology. And of course, somewhere in the beginning of April, that was a couple of weeks back, almost the whole town of Clearwater was in that room. Of course, you only saw some of them that were there. but others, they probably were at home. But everybody came out against Scientology, who wanted to buy the street. The man wanted to know why. Why they actually need the street closed down. He didn't understand why. And of course, Lena thought, you know what? No, no way. They said they were going to build new businesses to get the town moving again. David Miscavige and Tom Cruise promised that there was going to be a family complex in movie theater. No one saw it. Either the plot's empty or it's just sitting there gathering dust. That's the talk in the meeting. And of course, Pharaoh Cheryl, oh my gosh, she was amazing. She lived there for years and she saw firsthand what Scientology kept on doing. And of course, Aaron Smith Levin came out and said that they weren't going to make a payment until 6 years later, which is ridiculous. And more people came out against Scientology and David Miscavige for going behind the entire town's back in closed sessions, which he wasn't supposed to do. All the people came out against Scientology, but there was a couple that were for them, and one of them I really felt for her. She's a nurse who had great ideas for drug abuse prevention and suicide prevention. But as you know, yeah, she just went to the wrong people. And I definitely know she's probably not watching this, but I would say to her, the last statement I made before OSA hacked into my computer and deleted everything. Honey, they are not worth it. There are plenty of other organizations out there that would be happy to use your ideas. They're not worth it. Honey, they're using you. And you know what? I've been there. You don't want them to use you because that's what they're doing. They're using you as a prop, saying, "Oh, look at what we have here. We got a nurse that's taking care of people who are abusing drugs, and she's doing suicide preventions, and we got involved and helped her out," which in reality, they're not going to lay one finger to help. I'm sorry. I know, I feel for you. They're just not worth it. There are plenty other places to go to. And the other guy, I think he was the one who refused to sell a piece of pizza to Mark Bunker. And It was something else. So, everybody got a chance to everybody's got a chance to talk, but this one guy was up there twice, and he was insisting to talk for the second time, which everybody else wanted a turn who hasn't had a turn. And of course, guess what? They called a 1-hour break because of him. So they took an hour and then came back. And then and then they pretty much decided to hold off voting. 3-2-2. But I'm sorry, I don't want to say this, but I think they're going to go along with David Miscavige. But you know what? Who knows? Mayor might change his mind. But still, he just doesn't want to give the street to Scientology. He's confused on why they really need it. So it was a 3-1 vote to hold it off until May the 5th. And of course, the African American community wants to put in a memorial for the African Americans in Clearwater. But you know what? I like to see that happen instead of David Miscavige's pathetic ideas, because that's what they are. But, and plus, Aaron Smith Levin wants to actually hold a party and collect funds to help them help them try and at least keep that street corner and come up with other ways for another business to open instead of David Miscavige's idea. But I would like to see that happen, guys, but I don't think it is. Well, guess what? Later on, I'm going to be back at 7:00 making candles. I said I was also going to have crafts. And later on tonight, I will be making them. See you soon.